You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's December the 16th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at paceradio.net. You notice I'm alone again today. That's right, Cindy and Glenn aren't available, so that means I go it alone. It's Christmas time. Everybody's busy. People have things to do, things to get done. So, hey, they'll return. They'll be back. Today, I've got 8 stories for you. We're going to go be, obviously, from Canada, U.S., Czech Republic, the Netherlands, as well. I've got a couple of educational studies that I'm going to talk about as we go through the show. So we'll get started. First story of the day comes to me from StratCan. Now, how Canada post-strike is affecting medical cannabis access. As you've heard, the strike is ending, in the process of ending, but nevertheless, it has still affected patients. As Canada post-strike nears its 4th week, 4 weeks, people, it has created a ripple effect across the country, disrupting the delivery of countless essential goods and services at the busiest time of the year. For many Canadians, the strike has been an inconvenience. For others, particularly those who rely on medicinal cannabis, has become a critical issue. Medical cannabis patients, many of whom depend on reliable and timely delivery for symptom management, are now facing significant delays and uncertainties. Canada Post remains the primary shipping method for the majority of licensed cannabis producers, and the strike has exposed vulnerabilities in the supply chain, leaving patients scrambling for alternatives. The disruption not only delayed access to the medication, but has also raised questions about the resilience of Canada's medical cannabis system. With limited options for same-day or in-person delivery in many regions, patients have found themselves stuck in a system unprepared for such logistical challenges. Now, according to A.J. Chahel, he's a pharmacist and co-founder of Apothecare, he says it's another hurdle in an already complicated system. And he says that medical patients who are enrolled with an LP and a doctor who prescribes are experiencing delays in getting access to their cannabis. Chahel added that various LPs are switching to Purelator and other delivery services, but because of the Canada Post strike, there have been significant delays even with those companies as they are overrun. Exactly. They stopped going to some places because they were just so overrun. And it's not going to be, sure, the strike's going to end this week, but it takes more than a day or 24 hours in order to clear up the backlog that has happened here. A further wrinkle are customers who don't have a traditional address to deliver to. This has been an issue with providers, including Avicana, the biopharma company based in Canada. They say this strike has added another layer of complexity to an already difficult medical cannabis access process. One of the biggest issues is patients who are in areas where delivery is only available to post office boxes currently serviced by Cannabis Post. Yeah, because I don't believe UPS and those other ones deliver to those just the boxes. Now, one of the challenges that comes with Canadians not being able to access their cannabis prescriptions is that they are forced to seek alternatives by using recreational stores. Recreational stores. That's right. They're not medical stores, people. Now, according to Chahil, they say that if the products are not the same, there might be some difficulty in making sure they transition it to an equivalent product. He added that further issue lies within the ongoing illicit market retailers. Some patients have trouble determining the difference between legal and illegal stores, both in person and online, and some access illicit market cannabis unknowingly. Now, black market stores are rampant, they say. A lot of my patients have no idea whether they're going into a black market store or ordering online from a black market store. We then help navigate them to a legal store. Yeah, find their way there. Now, confusion over where to get products during this time aside, the strike is also helping the growth of the medical cannabis sector in Canada at a time when that part of the industry could use an expansion. Active client registrations for medical cannabis with a federal license holder have gone from 345,520 in 2018 to 180,878 in 2024. Numbers are going down. Now, according to somebody here, I'm not saying a name, but they say, I see medical patients just leaving altogether, especially if they are more elderly. If they're dealing with pain and a lot of significant conditions, they can't just stop. They need access. And if they're not getting it, if it's getting delayed or not coming at all, they will need to get it somewhere. Once they see how it is easily accessible, they may not come back. That's right. As for the effects this will have on the cannabis sectors and its reliance on Canada Post, Urban believes that the landscape will change out of pure necessity for patients to receive their medicine. This, however, will come at a cost. Yeah. It says that we believe companies will move away from primarily relying on Cannabis Post. Unfortunately, the reality is that the cost of shipping with alternative carriers is still higher, and this will ultimately impact patients. Now, nothing can stop the current situation regarding Canada Post strike, which is ending. But there is a way the government and industry can put something in place to ensure the medical cannabis sector is not affected if and when this happens again? No, Chandel believes that there is. They say that I would like to see the government integrating medical and retail. That would be a fantastic way to solve access issues. Yes, exactly. And what that could mean is patients being able to access medical prescriptions at a retail store. Hey, I've been saying the same thing. There would have to be additional checks and balances, like the integration of healthcare professionals in the retail stream, but the infrastructure is there. Exactly. And I've been saying that for quite a while now, that why don't they basically look at it when you go into a pharmacy? You go into Shoppers Drug Mart, you go into Guardian Drugstore, you go in, you got to walk by all these different aisles of different products that they sell before you get to the back of the store where the pharmacy is, where you pick up your prescription drugs. Why couldn't they do that the same when it comes to a retail cannabis store, where they actually hire professionals that work behind that medical counter? Makes sense to me. And in that way, patients are not going without, as we saw in this strike. So, all righty, on to the next story. And this one comes to me from the Marijuana Moment. Headline says, cannabis can significantly improve the quality of life for youth with autism, epilepsy, and other conditions, according to a scientific review. Bit of a long story here. We'll see how much I cover it. A new scientific review finds that high CBD, low THC cannabis products have potential to significantly improve the quality of life for children with autism and epilepsy. Additionally, showing promising results in reducing key symptoms of other conditions experienced by young people, such as cancer, all with mostly mild, manageable side effects. The report, published this week in the journal Medical Cannabis and Cannabinoids, assessed the findings of 10 studies since 2019 that looked at the use of medical cannabis to treat patients under 21 with various health conditions, including autism, autism spectrum disorder, cancer, treatment-resistant epilepsy, and Sturge-Weber syndrome, a neurological and skin disorder. Authors of the report from Leafwell, a telehealth company that connects patients with doctors who recommend medical cannabis and Duke University said they found generally positive effects across the various disease states and populations. In the pediatric population, emerging evidence combined with existing literature suggests medical cannabis may be beneficial for quality of life symptoms related to specific conditions like cancer, autism spectrum disorder, treatment-resistant epilepsy, and Sturge-Weber syndrome. While more research is necessary, they concluded, this review, together with other reviews of literature, suggests that medical cannabis is potentially a viable treatment option alongside established medical treatment guidelines. This is especially true for pediatric ASD, autism spectrum disorder, with the subject of the studies with the strongest methodological designs. The new review says, which found improvement in some primary outcomes related to medical cannabis treatment. Two other studies found no significant differences. It adds, suggesting that medical cannabis treatment did not worsen ASD treatment health outcomes. One study in particular, report notes that found that 3.9% of patients with ASD experienced worsening primary outcomes, while 74.5% reported improvement. Taken together, the strength of study designs, consistent findings, and relatively low adverse effects rates suggest that cannabis may contribute positively to patient treatment, although they noted that there's considerable variation within the pediatric ASD population in general. Newer research, they continued, ought to investigate whether there are specific ASD subtypes for whom medical cannabis may be more effective or less safe, and which routes of administration are most effective. Just like pharmaceutical drugs, cannabis is no different. It doesn't work on everybody, so it's good to do these tests. Now, the researchers concluded studies about pharmaceuticals such as CBD drug Epilux, a cannabis derived approved by the FDA, instead focusing on cannabis-based medical products. We made the decision based on an increasing number of medical cannabis patients are using non-FDA approved flower-based products for their conditions, the report mentions. It is more probable, especially in the US and Canada, that a pediatric patient uses cannabis-based medical products purchased at a dispensary due to the product's obligatory rather than a government-approved drug product. Typical products were oral solutions or dried flower with relatively low concentrations of CBD and low amounts of psychoactive cannabinoid THC. And only one of the studies looked at THC almost for a second here. And that is because the dog wants in. And she is screaming at my door. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to load up a quick little video here. It's about a minute long, and I'll be right back, folks. Hey, I am back. I'm here. The dog is in, but she's giving me an evil eye looking at the top of the stairs, telling me, hey, Dad, it's time to go for a walk. But I'll continue on with the story. It says that individuals using medical cannabis through state-run programs in the USA or Canada may not have consistent access to similar high CBD, low THC products. Although the types of products available to medical cannabis patients vary by state, there is a need for physicians to educate patients on the current literature. Now, the review also acknowledges a need for further investigation around matters including the safety of long-term cannabis use and the potential for cannabinoids to interact with other drugs. Little is known about the long-term safety profile of medical cannabis formulations in the general population and specifically in the pediatric population. Now, the findings of the review rely, we got a pop up at the bottom, messed up my screen. Findings of the review align with similar positive effects observed in past reviews of available evidence, authors of the report said. At the same time, both the current and past reviews also noted that most published studies lacked a control group, were limited by small sample sizes, and varied in treatment dosages, indicating a need for more targeted study. Past reviews also found the strongest evidence supporting medical cannabis for treatment of chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, and the authors pointed out, while their own review found the most robust evidence around autism. Leafwell said in a post about the new report that the company's research demonstrates the tremendous promise of cannabis to help treat common pediatric conditions, while also indicating the plant's relative safety. It says, overall findings within these studies support previous evidence that medical cannabis can be an effective alternative to commonly prescribed pharmaceuticals such as opioids and sedatives, and with fewer risks of side effects. In addition, it's successfully elevating patient symptom studies indicating general mild and minimal side effects following cannabis use, with drowsiness and appetite changes among the most common reported. The company says the work is important because findings can promote better access to cannabis products among pediatric patients, reduce social stigma around cannabinoid medicine, and help keep families informed. And research findings over the last 5 years continue to show the usefulness of medical cannabis in the treatment of numerous pediatric conditions. And at the same time, medical cannabis can be a safer alternative to commonly prescribed drugs, as side effects to minors appear to be minimal and mild. The review illustrates a need for more research into medical cannabis use among young patients. Despite an increase in studies over recent years, there's still a lot to learn and knowledge gaps when it comes to dosing, the efficacy of specific product types, and more. Now, the new report comes on the heels of another Leafwell study authored by researchers from DePaul University in Chicago. The research used Leafwell data to examine what conditions qualify as minors for state legal medical cannabis programs, concluding that younger people enroll in the programs for many of the same reasons that adults do, including anxiety, PTSD, and chronic pain. Other conditions include insomnia and depression. Among minor patients, those under 18, cancer and epilepsy were more common reasons for obtaining a medical cannabis recommendation than they were among young adults 18 to 20. Patients in the older age group, meanwhile, were comparatively more likely to cite depression, chronic pain, or insomnia as their primary qualifying condition. Okay, this story goes on for quite a bit more, but there you go. It's good news to see that, as the headline on here says, if I can bring it back up again, that cannabis can significantly improve the quality of life. And that's what's important, people, improving the quality of life. And that's what I tell a lot of people. You know, it may not cure your condition, but it should improve your quality of life. All right, on to my next story. Now we're going to go to Czechoslovakia. That's right, because over in the Czech Republic, hit that button right there. Oh, there we go. It says the Czech Constitutional Court rules in favor of the cannabis educator in free speech case. And this comes to me from the International Cannabis Business Conference. And the story goes on to say, this week, the Constitutional Court in Czechia ruled in favor of a cannabis magazine and its director, asserting in its ruling that a prior decision by a lower court to convict the journalist and his media outlet violated the country's free speech laws. Now, in October of 2021, Robert Ververka, a journalist and a director of the Czech-based cannabis magazine Legalized, was targeted by the Czech government over his journalism, with the government accusing him of inciting and promoting toxicomania, toxomania. Legalized is a bi-monthly, periodically focused on cannabis and drug policy relating to human rights and environmental issues. It sounds sort of similar to Treating Yourself magazine. Ververka and his media outlet would later be convicted following 2 court hearings. The district court in Bruntel sentenced Ververka to 1 year in prison, contingent to a 2.5-year primary probationary period, and fined him 50,000 Czech dollars. It's education. Like, come on. The judge mentioned that he is not competent to assess the benefits of the current legislation, the benefits of cannabis products in healthcare, or the negative effects of cannabis use, but that he must base his verdict on the existing legislation, which is binding for all. He stated that according to his judgment, Legalized magazine evidently and factually constituted the criminal offense of inciting and promoting toxomania. Ververka stated in this time of the November 2021 verdict in a press release. He did not take into account the legislative provisions allowing for cannabis to be handled legally in certain cases, or the comprehensive and educational nature of the information published in the magazine. On the contrary, the judge expressed his doubts as to whether the individuals who granted interviews to the magazine were made aware of its content and overall message. Personally, I consider the verdict to be very biased and severely restrictive of the freedom of expression, the right to express political opinion, the right to information, Ververka also stated. Now, as first reported on LinkedIn by fellow Czech journalist and cannabis advocate Lucas Hurt, Robert Ververka appealed the lower court's decision, and the Czech Republic's Constitutional Court overturned the lower court's ruling, as it should. It says, Lucas Hurt stated in a social media post that he didn't expect much from the Constitutional Court, but Robert had to try. For freedom of speech and for the freedom of our planet. To everyone's surprise yesterday, the court issued a landmark ruling. Without open and free debate, even on controversial issues as substance abuse, democracy cannot function effectively. The dissemination of information related to the issue of cannabis use, including criticism of current legal status, is a contribution to the social debate on issues of public interest, the Constitutional Court stated in its landmark ruling. Last month, Czech Republic's cabinet approved a plan that would permit adults in the European nation to cultivate multiple plants in their private residence and possess a personal amount of cannabis. And you wouldn't allow them to have a magazine? Come on. The plan, which would legalize the cultivation of up to 3 cannabis plants and set a maximum possession limit of 50 grams of cannabis, was originally introduced by the Czech Republic's Ministry of Justice back in September of 2024. The proposal still has to clear other procedural hurdles before it officially becomes law. So there we go. Czechoslovakia standing up constitutional rights for the publisher of a magazine that's educating people for cannabis. And that hardly doesn't seem right, does it? Alrighty. On to my last story before we go to break. And this one's getting a little trippy because trippy science unreveals the mystery of psychedelics' anti-anxiety effects. All right, here we go. The anxious brain is a watchman on steroids, wired to perceive danger at every turn. This extreme vigilance activates biological stress responses to exuberate anxiety, creating a vicious loop. Breaking this cycle is key to treating anxiety, but traditional pharmacopoeia therapies are moderately effective and have significant side effects. The recent interest in the benefits of psychedelics for psychotherapy disorders has scientists tapping into their anxiety-reducing properties to devise new trip-free therapies. In a recent study published in Science, researchers found the Institute of Psychedelics and Neurotherapeutics at the University of California. Davis studied the neurobiological psychedelics in a mouse model to pinpoint how they cause hallucinations and also crush anxiety. He says, according to David Olson, he's a chemical neuroscientist at IPM. He says, we've been trying to understand how psychedelics do what they do to the brain and then use the information to generate optimized therapeutics, safer versions of psychedelics, including non-allergic variants that are more scalable and would be accessible to a broader patient population. Olson collaborated with Christina Kim, a neuroscientist and bioengineer at IBM, to explore which neural currents in the brain mediate the hallucinogenic and anti-anxiety effects of psychedelic drugs. Kim says, we were interested in how psychedelics modulate a particular set of neurons in the brain region called the medial prefrontal cortex. This region has been implicated in driving anti-anxiety-like effects and also hallucinogenic-like side effects of psychedelics. Now, Kim, Olson, and their team examined changes in the basal levels of anxiety in mice. Anxious mice are less interested in exploring open spaces and engage in compulsive behaviors, such as burying foreign objects in their bedding. The researchers exposed mice to the psychedelic 2.5, I'm going to say DOI, just call it DOI, and tracked their behavior. DOI lessened the anxiety behaviors, but also caused the mice to twitch their heads, a sign of hallucinogenic-like activity. Now, Kim goes on to say that we saw both these effects right away after the drug administration. If we waited for 6 hours, we found we could still see the anti-anxiety-like effects, but we no longer saw those head twitch responses. This signaled to the researchers that the mind-altering and anti-anxiety effects of psychedelics may be initiated by different neural circuits in the brain. They use SE Flare 2, a modular tagging technique, to mark prefrontal cortex neurons that were most active following DOA administration, then reactivated those cells the next day using optogenetics. By that time, the psychedelic drug was inactive, and the researchers were able to mimic the anti-anxiety effect. They also used RNA sequencing to hone in on the cell types that psychedelics activate. Kim says that one neat thing about the tagging tool is that once it tags a DOA-activated cell, it basically marks the cell with a foreign transcript. We could treat animals with DOI, do the tagging, and then dissect out the neurons and perform single nucleus RNA sequencing and get all this information about the modular identity of cells and whether they had a cellular activity history of being activated by the transcript by the psychedelic drug. Now, in addition to serotonin 2A receptors neurons, which mediate hallucinogenic and neuroplastic effects of psychedelics, the researchers identify additional interconnected neural networks in the medial, I'll get it out right, prefrontal cortex that are involved in reducing anxiety. While the 5-HT2AR neurons may kickstart the response to psychedelics, the anti-anxiety effects depend on downstream activity in other networks. Now, Stephen Baker, a neurochemist and professor emeritus at Louisiana State University, who was not involved in the study, expressed enthusiasm for the works. In terms of psychedelic therapeutics, it's a real benefit to the field. One of the drawbacks in psychedelic therapy right now is the need to monitor the patient. You can't give them a bottle of pills and send them home. By eliminating the hallucinogenic effect, they can create new drugs that have beneficial effects without having to monitor the patient during administration. We wasted so many years not examining these compounds. It's really been a scientific travesty. Now, Olson is hopeful about the future of psychedelic neurobiology research. He says that psychedelics have been around for a long time, but we are really only now entering an era of modern neuroscience, where we have the tools necessary to start unraveling some of these mysteries. All right, people, I see it's the bottom of the hour. Time for me to take the commercial break and, go from there. So I'll be right back. I'm going to medicate. You're watching Psychedelics and Education and Cannabis Educational News. I'm live here at PACEradio.net, as well as the 420 PACE Project. See you shortly. Bye-bye. You're listening to the PACE Radio Network here at PACEradio.net. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor? If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
What do you find at PACEradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or PACEradio.net, where you will find the 420 PACE re-rolled Saturday. Everything gets started at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the PACE Radio Network here at PACEradio.net. Education session and your life with psychedelics and cannabis educational news. And the dog is still sitting on the staircase waiting for me to take her for a walk. So we better get out of here. Up next, a couple of studies. First one up comes to us from cannabis.net, and it says fibromyalgia patients enjoy long-term benefits after cannabis medication, says a new medical study. That's right. Studies. Now, a growing number of studies back up the efficacy of cannabis for fibro, and they say that fibro is a chronic condition notorious for being so difficult to treat. Patients with the fibro struggle with pain throughout the body, particularly affecting the musculoskeletal system. It's also characterized by other symptoms, including sleep and memory issues, fatigue, and mood swings. Fibro, being chronic in nature, takes an extremely long time to manage. There is no cure for this disease, but patients are often prescribed a cocktail of medications and are recommended to undergo serious life-changing changes and therapy sessions to help. Aside from numerous painkillers, anti-seizure drugs, and antidepressants, fibro patients greatly benefit from physical therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, exercise, and various stress management techniques. While it can be months or even years for patients to experience relief, scientists haven't stopped working to discover better treatment modalities for this condition. And thankfully, cannabis has been shown to be one of them. Legal cannabis is now giving fibro patients hope to regain control and quality of life again. There's those words, quality of life. There is a growing number of studies supporting the benefits of cannabis for fibro. In one of the latest studies out of London, researchers analyzed the efficacy of cannabis-based medicinal products, which were either oil extracts or flour, on 148 fibro patients from the UK Medical Cannabis Registry. As in the standard for patients in the UK who are enrolled in the UK Medical Cannabis Registry, these patients have been unresponsive to traditional medications. Yet, after being treated with cannabis, the patients reported improvements at various intervals, namely 1, 3, and 6 months. After improvements in the generalized anxiety disorder 7 questionnaire, single item sleep quality scale, fibro symptoms severity score, and the EQ5D5L index values were observed at each follow-up period compared to baseline, according to the researchers. Now, they added that the participants reported significant reductions in their dependence of prescription opioids. Important there, people. During the time of the study. However, they did experience dry mouth, headache, and some fatigue. Okay, at least they weren't addicted. Positive associations between initiation of CBMP therapy and decreased fibro severity were observed at all time points, according to the authors. These findings are complemented by wider literature, they wrote. Meanwhile, another study from Columbia analyzed how various cannabis preparations impacted the symptoms of patients with fibro syndrome, also known as FMS. To achieve this, an international team of researchers poured through data taken from 14 clinical studies, as well as 5 reviewed papers. According to their studies, cannabis products were effective in reducing pain and other symptoms while keeping side effects to a minimum. They concluded that cannabis products can improve musculoskeletal, somatic, and psychiatric symptoms in patients with FMS, mainly pain, fatigue, and depression. Also, these products could be considered as safe. Another study, so this isn't the only one, people. Another study, only 2 actually, found that cannabis was effective, especially in helping women who were suffering from treatment-resistant fibro. For this study, researchers utilized the World Health Organization Quality of Life Brief Questionnaire to gauge the quality of life of 30 female fibro patients whose ages ranged from 18 to 70 years of age. Given they were all treatment-resistant cases, they had already exhausted all conventional pharmaceutical fibro treatment. The questionnaire focused on 4 aspects: psychological health, social relationships, environment, and physical health. The women were asked to fill out the questionnaire before medicating with cannabis, then again a month after. They were asked to choose the preferred way to medicate, whether they ingest, smoke, or vaporize. It was up to them. During the follow-up sessions, the researchers found that treatment contributed to an improvement in quality of life. There's those words again. Activities of daily living, general health, psychological health, physical health, pain and discomfort. The patients also reported seeing positive changes that affected aspects of fatigue, pain, self-esteem, memory, and positive feelings as a whole. In the end, they say it's no surprise there's a greater interest in using cannabis for fibro. Cannabis works as well as for this condition because of the way it interacts with the endocannabinoid system. After all, the human endocannabinoid system is responsible for regulating pain, as well as many other important functions in the body. Since pain is a hallmark symptom of fibro, patients who medicate with cannabis find tremendous relief. Even better, many cannabis medications, such as edibles, provide long-lasting pain relief without the addictive and harmful effects of opioids and other conventional medications. In addition, the pain raised or caused by fibro can make it difficult to sleep and rest well. Cannabis also has a multitude of other benefits for fibro patients, including its ability to fight inflammation, regulate moods, and improve sleep. There's a great variety of cannabis products in the market that can help alleviate pain and reduce symptoms, from edibles to oils and tinctures. There's a medication there for everyone. Edibles are preferred for pain patients in general because it provides long-lasting relief from many types of symptoms. I have to completely agree. However, capsules and tinctures allow patients to enjoy more control over dosing. When it comes to choosing whether to take CBD or THC, many patients find relief when consuming a product with a combination of both cannabinoids. Exactly. Excessively high THC may not be suitable for older patients or those that need to focus, so getting one with a good balance of both or is CBD dominant may be ideal. So speak to your doctors. But just so you know, before this broadcast, I swallowed a couple of capsules because I'm sore. So, yeah, see how that goes. So there we go, fibromyalgia, pain relief, all that stuff. As I said, I always take. I prefer the edibles, or I use a beverage now, really, with the Legacy 420 and their THC base. I put that into a juice and drink it instead of eating, a bunch of baked goods that isn't always very good for people with Crohn's disease. I'll do that instead. Alrighty, time for me to move on, and we get into yet another study that's coming in the news, and this one comes to me from Marijuana Moment, and the headline says that cannabis-induced vaginal suppositories help enhance sex for women recovering from gynecological cancer, according to this study. So let's see what it says. Cannabis-induced vaginal depositories seem to reduce sexual pain in women after treatment of gynecological cancer, according to a new study. Online exercises and so-called mindful compassion, meanwhile, help to improve sexual function, including arousal, lubrication, and orgasms. Combining the two, however, seem to offer the patients the most relief. Now, according to the study, it was published this month in a special issue of the journal Medicina. They say the outcomes favor the combined group, in which sexual function, levels of sexual arousal, lubrication, and orgasm increased with the levels of sexual pain decreased. The combined group also saw improvements in measures of mindful compassion, sexual self-efficacy, as well as general well-being and quality of life. There's those words again, quality of life. A fourth control group, in which participants received only care as usual, experienced no differences in sexual function. The report says, although well-being and sexual self-efficacy diminished over the study period. Both cannabis suppositories and mindful compassion appeared to be effective interventions for women after gynecological cancer treatment with these variables. According to the study, that's the conclusion. They say the cannabis suppositories appear to address sexual pain and mindful compassion better meditated the analgesic properties of cannabis to support sexual function, well-being, self-efficacy, and QOL, quality of life. Now, the cannabis suppository may also acted as a sexual lubricant, combining with the drug's analgesic properties to improve self-management, the authors wrote. The 5-person UK-based research team behind the new findings represent London Metropolitan University, the East and North Hertford National Health Service Trust, and Regent's University London and Imperial College London. The study followed 83 people, dividing them into 4 groups: a cannabis-only group, a mindful compassion group, a combined cannabis and compassion group, and a care as usual group. In the cannabis-only group, 7 in 10, which is 70.6%, said they felt that their sexual function was the same as without the suppository, according to the report. However, they felt that using cannabis suppositories had helped them with relaxation, reduced the anticipation of pain during the sexual act. That was 94%, which increased the sexual connection with the partners, which was at basically 59%. Nearly half of cannabis-only participants also voiced the need to have more widely available THC suppositories in healthcare, rather than having to make them themselves. Now, among the group that had the mindful compassion intervention, which included exercise involving mindfulness, breathing, relaxation techniques, and body scans, 72% of participants suggested that mindful compassion helped with relaxing and remaining in the moment, which improved the sexual experiences, the authors found. Of those who had both the mindful compassion intervention and the cannabis suppository, half reported that mindful compassion effectively increased the pain-killing effects of the suppository. Meanwhile, a third felt more confident and better after the mindful compassion and suppository intervention, while 27.8% said they felt more relaxed. As for the mechanisms of action behind the 2 treatments, the authors said that mindfulness has been shown to increase levels of sexual self-efficacy, well-being, sexual function, and quality of life, and that there's an established relationship between sexual efficacy and improved sexual functioning and relationship connection. THC, meanwhile, might act as a vasodilator, allowing more blood flow to the vagina, increasing sexual pleasure, according to the authors. And when comparing suppository use with THC, CBD, or combined, the combined CBD and THC treatment was favored among participants in this study. However, this might be owing to the limited availability of THC suppositories in healthcare, such as from the NHS. Elsewhere, the study authors similarly noted the comparative lack of high THC suppositories, and they say the limitations of this study are based on ethical and legal cannabis restrictions in the UK, and the ideally medical cannabis should become more readily available on the NHS, including cannabis suppositories, and current NHS prescriptions include epilepsy, chemotherapy, and multiple sclerosis. And as the authors of the new study pointed out, using suppositories is not a new way of delivering medication. No, it's not. It certainly is not a new way. So there you go. Suppositories to help you with lovemaking. Yeah. Okay. Time to move on to the next article. And this one comes to me from the International Cannabis Business Conference. It says, regulated cannabis sales policy evolves in the Netherlands. All right. Some buds, a couple doobies. Regional adult use cannabis commerce pilot trials are permitted by European Union law since they are research-based. Pilot trials involve allowing local recreational cannabis sales to help national lawmakers and regulators gather information to be better informed when crafting national policies and regulations. Now, the Netherlands officially launched its first pilot trials in Breda and Tilburg back in December of 2023. And since then, that time, the research products have expanded to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other locations. And starting in April 2025, all licensed cannabis shops in those jurisdictions will be required to only sell regulated cannabis products. Currently, shops participating in the pilot trials can sell a combination of regulated cannabis products and the tolerated cannabis products. So they've brought in the regulated stuff, and they're slowly fading out the unregulated stuff. So that all coffee shops in all 10 participating municipalities are allowed to sell regulated products in addition to tolerated products to consumers. After almost a year of regulated supply, 70 of the total of 75 participating coffee shops have sold regulated cannabis and hashish, the government stated in a recent news release. Now, the closed coffee shop chain experiment aims to investigate whether a regulated chain of production, distribution, and sale of cannabis is possible. A team of researchers under the supervision of an independent guidance and evaluation committee will also investigate the effects of this on public health, crime, safety, and nuance. The results of this research can contribute to decision-making on future cannabis policy in the Netherlands. In addition, the Netherlands regional adult use cannabis commons pilot trials are also operating in various jurisdictions in Switzerland, and they are expected to launch in Germany sometime next year. Now, according to the information here, it says the next phase of the experiment is the experimental phase. Hey, this phase starts on April the 7th, 2025. From then on, coffee shops in the 10 remaining municipalities must only sell regulated products. I'm going to call them legal products. This phase will last for 4 years in principle, with definitive date in sight. Growers will have to have clarity about when they can start producing in full. This way, the supply of regulated cannabis and hash can be further tailored to the demand of the coffee shop owners. In addition, the 5th, 6th, and 7th growers are also expected to be ready to deliver in April. This will benefit both the choice of the coffee shops and the stability of the supply, according to the government. There you go. See what happens. I know we had supply issues here. Other jurisdictions, other countries, they had supply issues. I'm sure the Netherlands will also have some supply issues. It's going to happen. All right. Last story of the day. And this comes to me from the New Scientist. Headline reads, magic mushrooms found in Africa are a species new to science. A new magic mushroom that I know I'm going to mess up the name of it. Here we go. Psychedelic. Uh-oh. I did this again. Found it. I read the article before, so now they shut it down. So, unfortunately, I can't bring that story in, but that happens. Just so you know now, there's a new mushroom out there, and it's a magic one. So, maybe on Thursday, I'll be able to find a story that I can open, and we'll be able to learn about that mushroom and see what it's all about. So, well, other than that, folks, I'm done. Got all the news. It's all read off to you and gone through. Some studies there. We traveled to different countries to see what's going on in the world. And that's important to know what's going on and around the world because, as we found out in our last broadcast, there's a Canadian, Morris Kevin O'Rourke is his name. He's a patient. He has a rare disease. He's a Canadian. He's licensed here in Canada. He went for a trip, and on the way, passing through the UAE, just passing through, he wasn't stopping there. He got caught with 118 grams of CBD cannabis oil in his luggage during the transfer. He's been convicted. He is going up for an appeal on Christmas Day. So our thoughts are towards him. His sentence for this crime, as they say, life in jail. That's right, people. Life in jail. People are still getting life in jail sentences for cannabis. That's why we got to keep speaking up and letting people know it's not right. These are patients. So, from the Legacy420.com news desk, that's the P.A.C.E News Report for December the 16th. And thanks to our buds at Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Legacy420.com, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, as well as At-Eze.ca. In closing, thanks for tuning in and watching the program. And as I always say, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. See you all on Thursday, people. Bye-bye. You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at PACERadio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20 is so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at PACERadio.net.